He wiped out half a nation. His armies turned cities into boneyards. Rivers ran red. Children were nailed to city gates. And yet, most people have never even heard his name. No, it's not Genghis Khan. It's not Hitler. It's someone more forgotten, but arguably just as deadly. A man whose warpath left tens of millions dead. A man whose idea of mercy was stacking skulls into towers as warnings. His name was Timur, also known as Tamerlane, and he may be the bloodiest emperor in human history. But how did a crippled boy from the Central Asian steppe rise to become the bringer of death to empires? And why has history chosen to forget one of the greatest mass murderers of all time? This is the story of the emperor who erased nations and was erased by time. Timur was born in 1336 in the city of Kesh, near modern-day Samarkand in Uzbekistan. He wasn't born into royalty. His tribe, the Barlas, was minor and fragmented. Timur walked with a limp, likely from injuries sustained in his youth, which earned him the name Timur the Lame, or Tamerlane. But he was anything but weak. From a young age, Timur was cunning, brutal, and hungry for power. He learned from the ghost of Genghis Khan, idolizing the Mongol Empire and adopting their symbols, military structure, and ruthless philosophy. But Timur wasn't just trying to imitate Genghis, he wanted to outdo him. And in many ways, he did. By his mid-30s, Timur had united the fractured tribes of Central Asia. But conquest wasn't just a goal, it was his religion. He believed God had chosen him to purify the world through war. And so he began his campaign, one that would leave an estimated 17 to 20 million dead. First came Persia. In 1387, the city of Isfahan resisted Timur's rule. So he ordered the massacre of its entire population. Over 200,000 people, men, women, and children, were killed. And then, as a warning to the world, he had their skulls stacked into 28 towers, each one over 10 feet high. Then came Baghdad, the jewel of the Islamic world. In 1401, after a brief siege, Timur's forces entered the city and slaughtered over 90,000 inhabitants. Delhi followed. In 1398, he crossed into India, clashing with the Sultanate of Delhi. After his victory, he executed 100,000 prisoners of war in a single day. According to chroniclers, the streets of Delhi were so clogged with corpses that soldiers couldn't walk without stepping on the dead. But perhaps the darkest and most forgotten chapter of Timur's reign of terror was his repeated destruction of the Kingdom of Georgia. Georgia was a Christian kingdom surrounded by Muslim powers, and in Timur's eyes, it was both a military and religious target. Between 1386 and 1403, Timur invaded Georgia at least 8 times, not once, 8 times. Each time, he returned with more brutality. Cities were leveled, churches burned, villages were erased. Georgian chronicles described how entire valleys were emptied of life. By the end of his campaigns, Georgia had lost over half its population. Those who weren't killed were enslaved. Families were ripped apart, histories ended, and the kingdom would never fully recover. Timur called himself the Sword of Islam, but he killed more Muslims than Christians. He turned on fellow Islamic powers without hesitation. Damascus, Aleppo, Baghdad, each met the same fate: massacre, fire, ruin. But Timur was more than just a butcher. He was brilliant. His military campaigns were swift and terrifyingly efficient. He used psychological warfare on a scale the world hadn't seen. When cities resisted, he responded with annihilation so complete that no one dared to resist the next time. And yet, for all his destruction, he considered himself a patron of the arts. In his capital of Samarkand, he built dazzling blue-domed mosques, palaces, and gardens, using architects and craftsmen he kidnapped from conquered lands. The city became a glittering corpse, built from the bones of civilizations. But despite the scale of his empire, Timur died in 1405 on his way to invade China. He left behind no functioning government, no lasting dynasty, and no vision beyond war. His empire collapsed within decades, and that's one reason why history forgot him. He left no great writings, no grand ideology, no long-lasting political system. He left only ruins, skulls, and silence. Unlike Hitler or Stalin, Timur's crimes weren't recorded by millions. They were written in fading ink by terrified scribes in broken cities. And yet his kill count, 17 to 20 million people, represented nearly 5% of the world's population at the time. If you applied that ratio to today's world, his conquest would have wiped out nearly 400 million people. He depopulated entire regions, Cities like Sarai and Tikrit were reduced to rubble and never recovered. Armenia, Georgia, Persia, India, Syria, all of them bled under Timur's sword. So why is he remembered as a hero in some parts of the world? In Uzbekistan, Timur is a national icon. Statues of him dominate city squares. His face is on money. Schools and streets bear his name. He's celebrated as a unifier, a builder, a visionary. But the truth is darker. He was a man who measured greatness in the number of bodies left behind, who turned cities into warnings, who erased histories, and we, in turn, erased him. He wiped out half a nation, and history chose to forget him. This was Timur, Tamerlane, the emperor of extinction.